So if you see the flowers on the table, they're our hop flowers that we grow here. If you've never seen hops before, that's what they are. You'll find a brewer back in the day would propose to his maiden with hop flowers. So you squash them between your fingers, you'll get the aroma through. They're still a little bit green at this stage, but you'll get the aromas. If you're a beer drinker, you'll get some familiar flavours through and scents through that. We don't actually use it in our brew here at this stage. We hope to have a crop this year to do it with. Because of the dry, we had a very poor crop this year, but it'll be just a specialty brew. Everything else we use is imported from all over Australia and all over the world. Our grain is Queensland grain. Our water is collected from the beautiful skies around here, collects in Mulgara Dam, goes around the corner and comes back here. Brett knows. Jed Shazza Digger, Bowie and Blue. So we've got 4 beers coming out for those who are beer drinkers. We've got Jed Shazza, Diggers and Bowie and Blue, and I'll go through that in a minute. So we saw this beautiful old store about 10 years ago. We already had a house up in Mulgara. We lived in Brisbane. We knew it had potential to become something great. I'm born and bred builder, but I've been brewing in a shed for 30 years, and that passion grew from building into brewing. So what you see forward of those doors is a 135-year-old general store. It was part of a township that had the store. The pub across the road had a 1960s makeover, so its motto is "We're ugly, we're friendly." We've got the state school at the end of the street, and we've got the School of Arts down here. In its heyday, it had butcher, baker, 3 banks, 3 churches, and a timber mill. So pine trees you see down the gully here are hoot pines. So did you come through Boona? Depends which way you could have come today. But if you know Boona at all, as you come into Boona, there's a big old derelict brick building to the right, which is the Boona Butter Factory, which was the biggest butter factory in the southern hemisphere in its day. So they used to put beer in boxes when they packed it. So what these trees were sold, turned into butter boxes. So it was a huge industry, a huge dairy industry. Now it's mainly beef cattle and lucerne. So as I say, we saw the shop. Reckon it'll be a great tourism destination. I think we've proved that. We get over 30,000 people a year, and we want to grow that to 50. Population of the town is around 220. Most Saturdays and Sundays we double that. Biggest day we had 500 people through. So that was a bit of a challenge and a bit of a juggle. And obviously they didn't all get fed. They just dropped in for beers and quick talks and just scatter them around, Brett. So we saw this, wanted to do some brewing. So in the process of getting all the 3 levels of government approval, we decided to put a couple of beers out in the market just to make sure that I just didn't think I could make beer, that the rest of the world thought what I was making was okay. So we knew the aim was to bring into a beautiful old 135-year-old store. As you walked in, you would have seen a beautiful copper brewing equipment. It's actually stainless inside, but we wrapped it in copper to give you that old world feel. All the shelves in the actual shop section itself are original. That's the way they used to display the stock, that's the way we display it today. So we knew it was going to be the old world feel, so we wanted our labels to reflect old world Aussie larrikins and characters. So we started with Diggers and Fat Man. So Diggers is a pale ale. Diggers is a character of my dad who served in World War II. His photo's behind the bar. But Ipswich, being so close, was a big, well, it still is a coal mining area, so there's a lot of guys that were colloquially called diggers, so that's what we started with. Fat Man comes from my love of rugby league and in particular the State of Origin season. So it's an Irish red beer, but we call them our own beer because we're Queenslanders. Paul Borton's brother just lives down the road, but no, it's not Paul. It's no particular footballer, but the Artie Beetson type who played for his team, his state, his country. Very loyal sort of player. Wasn't going out, getting drunk and earning millions of dollars and getting naked and getting caught on film. Maybe Artie did it, maybe he was smart enough not to get caught on film. So we had those 2 beers out. Eat Local Festival in the Scenic Rimmers over at Arachula, Winter Harvest Festival, every first Saturday of every year. First Saturday of July every year, year 10 coming up this year. So I'd go along to that event with these 2 beers. People knew what we were doing, wanted to know when we were opening. We kept saying soon. We had 45,000 Facebook followers, 45% of those were female. So we opened the doors with our 3rd beer, which is Shazza. Why Shazza? Because everybody knows a Shazza. And we don't believe that the female race is marketably popular when it comes to beer. That'll come into my story of where women are involved in brewing over the ages. So if we start at the handle, we should have our ginger, jazzer, digger, and then the end one is Bowie and Blue, which is the pumpkin ale. So I'll get to that in a minute. So we opened in December 16. Winter harvest 17, we decided to do a collaboration with Brisbane High School. So we had the grade 11 student come in and we developed the ginger beer. So it's a full malted barley beer. So basically think of a pale ale that we add ginger and honey to. The kids came, we developed the recipe, they came for the brew day, they helped us package it. They were allowed to go home and taste it with their parents if they were over 16. And then we marketed it on the day at Arachula. We had our marquee with their 3x3 next to us. They were just so thrilled to tell people that they made beer at school, and now they're selling it. So it was the best selling beer of the day. The same year we launched another beer all the same week. We'll never try and do 2 in a week again, but that was the learning curve. It's a dark beer, it's a Belgian Abbey beer, 6.5%. It's called Far Q. You all would have heard of Far Lap. It's his distant cousin. His name's still mudded around the tracks today, normally when you lose rather than you win. Strong beer, more of a winter beer, but yeah, it's being well received as well. So we wind forward to that was 2018. Sorry, 2018. We launched Giddy Gout. So Giddy Gout's a milk stout. You all would have heard of Guinness. The Royals were there visiting their Guinness factory this week. Guinness is a dark, strong stout. This is a milk stout which has been around as long but not as well known. So it has a lactose component that sweetens it. Beer yeast can't eat sugars that are in lactose, so that's why it stays. Why a lot of us have problem with lactose, because our beer microbes can't eat that lactose sugar. So there's no milk involved apart from the lactose, and people get this image in the head that it's a big, smooth, creamy head that comes from the way we carbonate it. We used whey from Tumrups Dairy Farm, which you're going to believe later today, okay, and Towery Sheep Farm. They make an umu cheese, so from sheep and cows. The byproduct is the whey, and that's what we put into this beer. We then created a full circle food that Landline come and did a story on. So we brew our grain, the spent grain goes back to Kay's cow, which creates whey, which then goes in beer. So we've got a full circle food, and Landline was quite impressed by that. So this year, 2019, where's it gone? We did a spiced pumpkin ale, Bowie and Blue. So Bow Desert, if you're local, don't say Bow Desert, it's too long a word for Australians, so we call it Bowie. So Bowie and Blue, play on words. Bowie's the farmer, Blue the dog, but we use a blue pumpkin. And it's actually a pumpkin that was developed in Bow Desert, very similar to a Queensland Blue. It's a bit more gnarly, a lot sweeter, good fermenting properties. So we've got, once again, a pale ale. We put a pumpkin in, nutmeg, cinnamon, vanilla, and ginger. So they're your spices, like the Americans like their spicy pie. So that was our beers. We now have a conundrum that we've got a 6-pack. We try to fit 7 bottles in. So you don't know whether we're going to drop one or all of a sudden create an 8-pack. But that's our problem, and I think it's a good one to have. So we get a wine list. Oh, lady's doing it, so that's all coming. So we've got food coming as well. The girls are just preparing that now. The story of women and the involvement in brewing over the ages. Every Winter Harvest Festival and Eat Local Week, I have beer band with Mike's people booked in, and I come out and tell them the story, not unlike you're seeing here today. I had 6 people booked in this day for that story about women's involvement in beer. Out the front of the brewery, sitting there, and I said, hang on, there's a pull back deck, I'll go and see if these guys want to hear the story as well. So I came out here and said, does anyone want to hear the story of women's involvement in beer? And there's always got to be a smarty in the crowd, and he put up his hand, he said, I think that'll be a very short story. So I said, well, that may be your opinion, but anyone else? So yeah, we came out here, did the story. The next day I got an email from one of the ladies who'd authenticated me on Google and said, you knew what you're actually talking about. So the story is all true. So women were the brewers. Women have got a far better palate than men, that's why they're very good cooks and very good at brewing. There's a lot of imagery that goes with the beer brewing process in Halloween. So big black smouldering cauldrons. That was either they were brewing beer or fermenting beer. That's why it's bubbling. They had grain, which attracts vermin, therefore they need a cap. Doesn't necessarily have to be a black cap, but that, once again, that was another strike against the ladies. What they would do out the front, if you did a new beer today, you'd put an ale stick. Looks very similar to a straw brew, but it says, hey, Mike put a new beer on today, the ale stick's out. They believed they were flying them around at night time, but we all know that wasn't possible. The hucksters are beer retailers, so they wear a big black pointy cap. So they go out in the market. You would have seen imagery on many movies where they've got all the big canvas tents in the market. She wanted to be seen, so she got the big black hat on. There's the beer huckster. Go and get your beer. So she was just making themselves obvious. Unfortunately, with the witch hunts, the ladies got too scared to actually apply their craft anymore. They were chased out of the beer industry. They also then passed the law that you couldn't own a brewery unless you owned the land in which it was built, and women weren't allowed to own the land. So pushed out, big box brewers came in, men took over, and that's why we ended up with this product that's very bland, amber, liquid. I don't even call it beer anymore, that's my opinion. So craft brewing industry started probably about the 1980s in America, and it's grown to what it is today. There's over 500 craft breweries in Australia now. Women are coming back to beer because they went to wine because there was no flavour in beer, and that's why women are now transgressing back, because we've got far more flavours and flavours that they can enjoy. So the industry's growing. It's one of the only industries in the world, in Australia, that is growing at the pace it is, and we wish to continue to do so. So if there's no questions, I'll leave you to your own company. Yes? Oh, just your beer? Oh, there's one question here. So any questions? Otherwise I'll leave you in peace. In short, yeah, not the whole story, no, just short, yeah. We're actually doing a small book now where it's got a bit more involvement with those stories. So, yeah.
So Mike, on the beers, are there 2 different beers for those who are having the beer pack?
There's 4 different beers here.
Alright.
Okay, so we got From the Handle, Jed, Shazza, Diggers and Bowie and Blue.
So whoever's having the beer, do they have all 4 of them, or is it
They're
just
two per person that are having beer, so their choice, yeah. Dave From the Handle is the ginger, then the Shazza, Diggers, and then Bowie and Blue.
I'll tell you a story about this.
Yep.
Stuff. My grandmother, who was